Free agency rumors are really starting to escalate for the Toronto Maple Leafs surrounding William Nylander's brother, Alex Nylander, as multiple rumors and reports are escalating surrounding the Leafs signing this player. We're going to break down the exact reports and why it could make sense given the fact that Nick Robertson has requested a trade earlier on this offseason. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, but before we do, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed, make sure to hit that button. It would mean the world to Darius and myself. But Darius, we broke this down a few weeks back now on William Nylander's brother, Alex Nylander, and why it makes tons of sense for the Leafs. And now things are really starting to pick up regarding rumors surrounding and linking this player to the Toronto Maple Leafs, especially given the fact that Daniel Sprong just a couple days ago signed with the Vancouver Canucks on a very good deal. And the player we're of course talking about is William Nylander, and Alex Nylander, but William Nylander is obviously his brother who currently plays for the Leafs. And Darius, I think this makes sense. You can see here William Nylander and his brother Alex, who's a UFA, have been seen preparing for next season together. Do you think the Leafs should sign Alex Nylander to a cheap deal after he scored 11 goals in 23 games? A lot of stuff. We'll get into his stats in a minute, but just a lot of things linking the Leafs to Alex Nylander, especially after Treliving missed out on the Daniel Sprong signing, which was less than $1 million to the Vancouver Canucks just a couple days ago. Would have been really good. There's obviously the relationship here between Alex and his brother. They're seen working out together this offseason. Do you think it makes sense?
It could make some sense, right? And I do like Alex Nylander as a player. And as we all saw last year when he got traded to Columbus, he put together a pretty good season after, right? Something that nobody really saw coming because he was playing in the AHL in Pittsburgh. So he put together a pretty good season, scored a couple goals. And one thing that a lot of people are talking about with the Leafs is the goaltending is the problem. The defense is the problem. That's been the narrative for a couple of years. When in reality, I think the goal scoring is the problem, which sounds ridiculous because they have all this high-end talent that makes, they have 4 or 5 guys making $45 million or whatever it is. They should be able to score, but they're lacking in the goal scoring department. And this is a guy more than Daniel Sprong that can score goals. He is a goal scorer. That is what he does. Some may say he's even one-dimensional, right, in that way, which is okay because that is his role. That is the type of player he is. He offers that to a team. So he could help the Leafs in that department. He's going to be very cost-effective and cost-friendly as well, like you said, with Daniel Sprong signing a team-friendly deal. So that could be the same type of idea here. And maybe, playing with his brother, it could spark something in him where he could score a couple goals. And I don't think he's going to play that high up in the lineup, right? Maybe third line, something like that, if he were to play with the Leafs. There are a couple things that, that might not work out with Alex Nylander and the Leafs. How does he mesh with Berube? Berube has a very specific style of play that maybe Alex Nylander won't lend to, right? So that could be, something that won't work out. There's a couple things that may not work out in this signing, but the Leafs need goal scoring. This is a goal scorer. I wonder if playing with his brother in Toronto could kind of spark something for his career. And he's still relatively young. I think there's something to this player and it'll be cost effective. So I think it's an option for the Leafs.
Yeah. You look at how many goals you saw on their screen now for a bit. 11 goals in 28 games, a minimal assist, definitely different player, a different type of style of player than Daniel Sprong was, even though both of us kind of thought and agreed that Daniel Sprong would have been a very solid option, especially given the contract he got. But Alex is only 26 years old, and he averaged a solid 16 minutes a game in his limited play last season. I think it makes sense for both sides here. You get to leave some more goal scoring, especially if Nick Robertson is on his way out of Toronto, which it may not seem like at this point. It kind of is still up in the air on that front, but you can see it, 23 games, 11 goals, 4 assists, 15 points. And you can see this from Leafs here. He says, trade Robertson for some assets, sign Alex Nylander at the league minimum. And I want to ask you about this potential avenue. You get assets back for Robertson, whether they're prospects, whether they're picks, whether that's maybe an NHL forward, depending on what they do with their with the trade. But trading Robertson and replacing him with Alex Nylander is an option. I'm a bit worried, and I want to err on the side of caution with this because you're trading a guy who is a bit more established than Nick Robertson, even though he only played 50-odd games last season in Sheldon Keefe's dog cage. But Nick Robertson's a great goal scorer too, and I don't think it's fair to say that Alex Nylander could equal production of a full, healthy Nick Robertson season next year if they do go that route.
I don't think we haven't seen anything that would lend us to believe that that would be the case, right? I think Nick Robertson is more established in the NHL at this point. He's younger, so I think he still has more upside. I think he can be a really good player. Like if the Leafs were to trade him, he would score like 25 goals, 30 goals somewhere else, right? He's a goal scorer. I think he should be playing on the power play in Toronto too. I think that's something that they should be looking at. But anyway, Alex Nylander, I think can fill in that spot. Sure. I just don't know if it's going to be as good as Nick Robertson. But if Nick Robertson, doesn't want to play here, then I think you have to start looking at trading him. He has no leverage. He could still be a Toronto Maple Leaf, but I wonder if you just start looking at what that may look like. And you might get some assets back, but it might not be any assets that are ready to play immediately. So Nylander could be an option in that spot, right? And at the end of the day, too, when you look at the wings, Bobby McMann is slotted into that second line left wing right now, right? Like it's expected that the top six in terms of left wings is going to be Matthew Nyes and Bobby McMann. Still, at the end of the day, those are pretty good if everything goes to plan. So Nick Robertson wouldn't even be in the top six right now. Should he have a look there? Sure, but there's still a lot up in the air. So I think that could be an interesting avenue that they go down. Maybe sign, Alex Nylander to take that spot on the third line, get rid of Nick Robertson, and maybe some assets back from him because he's still a very useful player. So still lots up in the air. I just don't think Alex Nylander fills that hole that Nick Robertson would leave 100%. But I still think there is some upside to Alex Nylander. And obviously, as you can see in those photos, like training with Nylander or his brother William this off season. So, I think William might be trying to get him as a contract in Toronto. Who knows?
You can see this here. If Robertson is firmly wanting a trade, it leaves one middle six spot in limbo. Toronto could easily make a worse bet than signing one of Zadina, Yamamoto, or Nylander to at least be in competition for that spot. And again, it's not going to be a flashy signing. It's not going to be anything crazy, but it's going to be something that is very interesting. Another article saying should the Leafs take a flyer on the younger Nylander. Just things are really circulating regarding this player, and it's obviously because William Nylander's brother, he wants to make a case for that. He can make a case to the front office that it could make sense, and maybe they'll shine together with some chemistry. But it also just makes sense from like a player perspective in the bottom six. Putting up 11 goals is still not necessarily an easy thing to do. You can see here, given his history, there's little chance he would sign anything more than an NHL league minimum. This is referring to Alex Nylander. It would be a low financial risk for the Maple Leafs. If Nylander doesn't pan out, they could easily move on without significant cap implications. And obviously, that's pretty important for the Leafs right now, these cap implications. But finally, Nylander would be highly motivated to play hard and prove that he can be something more than just playing 20 to 30 games a season and maximize his opportunity and exceed expectations. Alongside his brother would probably be a dream case scenario for everybody. And it's at the point now where if the Leafs can do this, especially if they're moving on from Nick Robertson, which it seems like they want, Nick Robertson wants them to, so it'll ultimately be up to them to decide that. But it just seems like a perfect fit, even though it might be a bit of a hard pill to swallow to say that, hey, we're going to sign Alex Nylander, even though you could have had Daniel Sprong, even though they do different things. But Sprong getting that contract makes these a little bit harder to swallow, but you can't think in the past like that, I guess.
No, and I think that, Daniel Sprong is gone. That's just what it is. Treliving maybe thought that it wasn't a good fit for the team, whatever it may be, right? He is gone at this point. You have to look at the options still left on the table, and there aren't many, right, that would make a notable difference into the lineup. But I think Alex Nylander is somebody you take a look at, right? They need goal scoring. This guy adds goal scoring. Again, I'm concerned about the fit with the coach and the type of player that he is, because I do think he is a bit one-dimensional, and that's fine, right? Like, he adds goal scoring to a team. That's fine. If you want goal scoring, he's going to give it to you, right? But I think he hasn't been given a good shot quite yet. Like, he was brought into Pittsburgh. I don't think he was really given an opportunity to play with too many good players, right? Same thing in Columbus, not a very good team. He was playing in Chicago, not a very good team. Buffalo, when they drafted him, they weren't a very good team, right? So now, if you were to come to the Leafs, I feel like they could find him a spot. I think he could play maybe second power play unit, right? Because I think Nick Robertson should be there if he's no longer on the team. Maybe you look at Nylander in that spot, something like that, just to get him going. But I do think there is still something to this player. I think he's going to play in the NHL somewhere this year. He had a very good second half, as we discussed last season. So, he's still relatively young. I think he can find it. And if he plays with his brother, again, maybe it'll spark something in him.
Hopefully, and a lot will depend on what happens with Nick Robertson, and that might flow into what they do with this guy. But let us know in the comments your thoughts on this. Do you want to see Willie Nylander's brother on the Leafs? Let us know. We'll see you soon.